Welcome viewers, we are in the full glory of fall, early winter right now. That means it's time to plant your hardneck garlic. The sweet spot is you're trying to get the ground conditions where we got a little bit of snow over here. It's just about starting to freeze, but it's not a hard freeze yet because the whole idea of a hardneck garlic is it's going to be putting down roots before it gets really cold. It's going to go dormant over the winter, and then it's going to start up right away in the spring. So you'll have a crop ready for your harvest in maybe June, July, depending on your climate. Up here in the upper Midwest, we're just about the end of October, Halloween time. That's when it seems to fit here. If you're in a southern climate, you might be a little bit later in the year. So hardneck garlic and softneck garlic. Softneck garlic is typically planted in the spring and harvested in the fall, so it's not as robust or sometimes as able to grow in a lot of different climates, whereas a hardneck can do a little bit better everywhere. So talking about your soil conditions that you're going to need, we've got right here is a heavier clay loams. It tends to like those. It tends to like a heavy fertilizer or nutrient bed. So keep in mind if you maybe have a little bit poor soil conditions, sand, stuff like that, where you have to fertilize heavily, make sure you've properly prepared your bed before planting. Part of the planting process, you want to get the tip of the garlic to be 1 inch below the surface. So in most pieces of garlic, you're ending up about 2 inches down. So we've got our tilled surface here. We're going to place this guy pointy side up, where the green shoot will be. The roots will go down, and I'm just going to put a little bit of dirt over the top of this here to get our 1 inch. And then what you'll see afterwards is we'll take compost or another cover such as mulch or ground up leaves or something else, but you're going to want to put a good heavy coating on top of this, not only to protect it from the frost and the hardness of that, but it also prevents the plant from poking up in the middle of winter and then getting knocked down by the frost and killing it. So you want to get that good heavy cover on top of it, which we will do once we get the garlic in. We'll put a nice bed of compost and some mulched leaves over the top of it to seal it in there. So then the roots will continue to grow down, get well established. In the springtime, it's ready to go. When you're harvesting your hardneck garlic, it can be a perennial, meaning as long as you don't dig up the whole bulb and split off a chunk of it. Think of it as kind of a cluster plant. It'll just continue to spread in a circular fashion. As long as you only take little bits of it, it will come back every year, as long as you're taking care of the soil and stuff. Obviously with fertilizers, you don't want to have any fertilizer touch the plant. So either do that beforehand, or now that you've got everything covered, place your fertilizer in the middle here, water this part pretty heavily. The plant will eventually get it, but ideally you've done the fertilizer ahead of time. If you're curious about softneck garlic, please check out our video on that. You can learn a little bit more about the details there. There's a lot of benefits of growing garlic. Not only is it a wonderful flavoring agent for many different types of foods, it is a natural repellent to most garden pests. Rabbits, you think of a lot of different types of worms, a lot of different types of bugs, things that will kill your other plants. By planting a little bit of garlic here, we're going to be protecting some of our other nicer plants that we're more concerned with. And not only that, we get garlic at the end of it, so you don't have to worry about your chemicals or your sprays. It's a nice natural way of doing that, and it keeps giving. So we'll check back in just a second here. I'm going to go get some compost and some mulch, and we'll show you the final product. One couple of corrections here. I said clayey soils earlier. It likes loamy soils. So looser soils that are typically more moist, not like a heavy clay that's harder to grow through. So if you have heavy clays, add a little bit of vegetation, mulch like this will help loosen it up. It'll put more voids in it. Your garlic will do better. So things to also consider where you're planting it. You don't want to plant garlic near strawberries. Parsley, need some help?
Asparagus.
Asparagus.
Beans and peas.
Beans and peas, so kind of keep in mind where it is. It also needs to be full sun. So very critical things that I may have left out of the first part of this, but we're going to go through the seed bed prep here. We've got our garlic in the ground. I've got some homemade compost here. You can tell it's good compost because it's kind of got that that look of half dissolved stuff, but we're going to put that over the top, and then we're going to cover that with just leaves and kind of mat it all down so that it's protected over the winter. In the springtime, when the shoots start to come up, we'll clear away most of this just so it doesn't fester and cause mold or anything else for the plants.
We also didn't mention spacing. You'll want these spaced at about 6 inches apart in the row and 10 inches apart per row. Or if you want to really fit them tight, you can kind of do a 6x6 grid. I wouldn't do smaller than that because it'll really stunt the growth of the bulbs as well as the scapes that'll come up.
Now I'll come over the top of this with a nice garden hose, really get this wetted down and matted so that the wind doesn't blow it away. If you want to and you're in a windy area, throw a little bit of wood chips or wood mulch over the top of this to keep it in place. Please check out any other gardening videos that you may have questions about. We have a bunch of them out there. Like us and subscribe to the channel. We'll check out our next garden folly.
And check out the garlic blog if you want to learn about both varieties and more details on the growing conditions for both.